Good day, my fellow gamers and non-gamers. This is Drist, playing Shroud of the Avatar. In-game name for Shroud of the Avatar is Shroud, and today is our release 39 day. R39 has now been released, and we are going to go through the patch notes briefly to give you an idea of what to expect. And I've actually been looking forward to this for a while. So, without further ado, a friendly reminder also, don't forget to subscribe. There should be a link in the video, so click the link, takes us over to my YouTube page, and click subscribe and like and comment in the comment section. So, on to the release. This is release 39, February 23rd, 2016. And they say, despite February being a short month and therefore release 39 being a short release, we have a ton of new content in this release, including more story, new scenes, major new systems such as patterns, town blessings, and magic movers. And the two that appeal to me most are the patterns and the magic movers. I think I have good feeling about those two. So let's move on. They are continuing to focus on the path of courage. And of course, they say we have also placed significant emphasis on realizing the vision of the kobolds and their technological gifts. This presents itself in Release 39 in the form of a city of kobolds, the dungeons of Cruel and Crawl, and a menagerie of clockwork attack creatures. Additionally, we polished the fire visuals in all three of the starting scenes to what we consider competitive standards. Finally, we have begun adding pockets of Tier 6 through Tier 9 enemies to 5 skull areas in the game, such as Deep Ravens, which provide a challenge to higher level players. That's where I would be. I'm finding the current, well, I was finding the current level of creatures out there, even the Tier 5 creatures, to be not too competitive for me. So I'm actually looking forward to that as well. Let's get getting involved in some of the 6 and 10 tier creatures and see if I can actually handle myself with them. So, and now patterns. That's one of the new things that they're releasing this. The patterns, the crafting system has had a major expansion with the addition of the pattern system. This allows players to visually reshape weapons and armor by using patterns that can be salvaged from rare loot or purchased in the add-on store. Now this is fantastic because I've always felt there was a severe lack of variety when it came to your weapons designs and your armor designs. And so what this will allow us to do is take a basic sword that we were able to masterwork and enchant and put some cool stats on it, and then slap a certain pattern onto it to give it a unique look that we want. So I actually have plans for a video regarding that in the another sword and armor set that I would like to have. So we'll record that once this one's done. Now, town blessings and magic movers. Player housing became much more interesting in Release 39 with these two major improvements. Town blessings over devotionals can now be placed by town owners, and they each bestow a different set of buffs, one combat and one crafting related. Magic movers now allow players to store fully decorated houses and basements for retrieval later. You can even move them between owned lots of the same size in the same scene. That one appeals to me because I have several home deeds. I have a Gothic mansion, I have a Wizard's Tower, and then I have my current Obsidian one. And it is such well, it has been such a pain to have to redesign and redecorate everything if I try to switch out the two houses. So this will allow me to save a current setup that I have and then just switch between that one and the other one. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Combat cover and utility bar. Combat also improves this release, with the cover now decreasing the amount of damage you take in combat. We have also made the non-combat bar stay visible during combat to facilitate use of consumable items during combat. This should give players who actively use potions and foods an effective alternative to placing consumables in their deck. I have mixed emotions about that change. It sounds cool on its face value, given the second bar that you can put stuff into. I'm going to show you where I have a problem with it, and I hope they will tweak this in the future. In fact, I hope they tweak this entire UI, which they probably will in the future. And so here we are, and let's go into combat. And as you can see, there's that non-combat bar right there, and here's our combat bar. Well, the way I like to play is my casting bar is about right here, and to my knowledge there's not a way to move that. If there is a way to move that casting bar to another location that fixes my entire problem, and then put that comment in the comment section so I know. But to my knowledge there's no way to move that casting bar. It is stuck right there, which means I like to position this combat bar right about here. This is where my eyesight kind of hangs around when I'm playing the game. So this allows me to effectively see my combat bar, see what I have to click to activate, get a good visual of what's going on up here, and still see my casting bar here. Except with that non-combat bar stuck right there, I don't think there's a way to separate those two. So here's what happens. Let's cast something that actually needs to be caught. See, my casting bar is right there over the top, right there. That just does not work for me, which means I have to lower this down here, which is awkward for me. There, now I can see it, but now my eyes have to be enforced slower down the screen, which is maybe I'll get used to it over time, but it's just so I have mixed emotions. I like the idea. In fact, I think I should be able to put buffs and stuff down here as well. As opposed to having them up here, I can now put them down here, which gives me more space which is great. But they probably will have this change moving forward where they can separate these and redesign them and stack them and stuff. But currently, I guess it's a step in the right direction. So that's my take on the whole combat versus non-combat bar thing. So moving on. Yet again, I want to express a huge amount of gratitude for their Dev Plus backers, which is great, blah blah blah. I'm a Dev Plus backer as well. Alright, so now they're going to break it down in the nitty gritty here. They are continuing their polish of the Path of Courage, of course. And they are also adding siege encounters, and with that being crossed out, I don't think they uncloned the Ruins of Ruins yet. So they polished the Path of Courage, they polished Blood River, they did a quest discovery and navigation improvements. We are working on improving the ability to find characters who have quests and or who you have active tasks to complete for quests. Characters who have quests for you or who have current active tasks will now have a blue glow. The character's glow will turn off once you complete all quests assigned to it. Additionally, as long as you are on a quest for a character, they will appear as a point of interest on your compass. These will be options you can turn off if you wish to continue to play old school. We lovingly call this system totally not on. Okay. So that's almost like their version of the question mark above the heads, which they kind of poked fun at a while back with the hat. But, oh well, it does make things a little easier, which you could turn that off too. NPC conversations, interface improvements, continuing to work on polish and bugs fixes, journal improvements. If a quest sends you into an area that requires combat, such as dungeons or hostile areas, the journal entry will warn you if the difficulty of the area is more than you can currently handle. As your skill grows in power, the evaluation in your journal will change. This is not exact, but should warn avatars a bit too eager to head to their certain doom. So that's cool, a little heads up, you're about to get into water above your head. And Crawl, here we go, this is a new release for it, the Crawl underneath Blood Bay. Far from the prying eyes of the Oracle, top Cabal researchers work in the Cabal Research Underground Laboratories, aka Crawl. In this vast underground facility, Cabal builds ever larger and more dangerous automations and craft mysterious weapons. Crow will be filled with top-tier kobolds and automations to battle, as well as dangerous technological traps and puzzles. And the good thing about Kroll is, yes, it's accessible from the PvP area, but it should be accessible from the city, the Kobold city as well, which means it's an NPC area from my understanding, not a PvP area, and you can access it via NPC area, so you don't have to go through the PvP area, for those of us that are not PvP inclined. And then we have Crawl, which this long tunnel system connects Shrek, which is the Kobold city, to Krull, which is that dungeon, and consists of long tracks and mine carts that can be ridden. However, regular checkpoints by Kobold sentries and traps make traversing this underground quite risky, so that groups can travel the crawl from Krull. Oh, there's a play on words there. Shrek can now be entered by parties. That's cool. Before Shrek was not entered, you couldn't enter it by parties, it was solo only. And Marky Dragon is our guild member, and we actually did a run down to the Shrek one day, and but we weren't able to enter it, the city, as a party. We could only go in individually, so this will be cool now that we can actually go in as a party. It does say, however, the Path of Courage instance of Shrek remains limited to solo players. So if you're on the Path of Courage, then you can't go in there as a party. That's understandable. North Drakwold Spur. What is this place? It started as a clone of the White Guard foothills and it got completely rebuilt as a new scene for Release 39. The area is home to a group of bandits who have been ambushing supply convoys using rock slides. The area will also feature the remnants of an abandoned mine and a mysterious watchtower. The rock slides take advantage of the new traps technology. Spoiler! Combat in the center of the main bandit headquarters has a good chance of drawing out enemies which are more challenging than the rest of the area. The mysterious watchtower is part of our new efforts to add higher tier enemies, tier 6 plus, to the maps that players can discover and or trigger. In this case there is a signal fire that will trigger a high level bandit attack, so that should be something we can look into later on. Upper Fortress, the Fortress River runs south to north through a large canyon in the North Palidus region to the east of the Sanctus Spine control point. Kobolds have established a mining facility here using system to soften the terrain. Bandits have a camp nearby and have been raiding the shipments of ore, and therefore the Kobolds have been ramping up their defenses of the mining facility. Expect strong resistance when trying to raid the Kobolds mining camps, and the bandits are not going to be too friendly either. This scene started as a clone of North Varsala foothills, but has been completely rebuilt for R39. So that's something else to look into later as well. And then they say fire visuals in starting scenes. We upgraded and replaced all the fire visuals in the 3 starting scenes, Blood River, High Vale, and Solace Bridge, to what we consider competitive standards. They made some more improvements to the Perennial Coast, and then they talked about the Tier 6 Plus additions, which, you know, in Skull 5 areas now you're going to encounter creatures that are Tier Skull 6 and higher. Well, that's good. More challenging, more experience to be gained. Actually, this one placed here, Ulfheim, in my local chat, in my guild chat. It looks like there's some of my fellow guildies that are down there running this right now, and they're quite pleased with the level of experience that they're getting from these Tier 6 plus creatures, so I'll have to check that out later. Chaos bosses. Several new Chaos focused bosses have now been added to the runes and Shard Falls. Because they are chaotic, they are also quite rare because they show up when they feel like it. I want to say the runes is a PvP area, and I want to say Shard Falls is a PvP area, so I probably won't be going there. Not a PvP person. Traps and Interactions additions. With release 39 or with release 38, we added new traps and interactive functionality to the game, including moving platforms, pressure plates, and flame jets, arrow shooters, gas fields, etc. Going forward, we will be adding this functionality to existing maps each release until they have been propagated across the entire game. We will also be expanding the functionality of our existing interactions and or adding new ones each release. So then they break down the movie platforms, electric damage field, south fetid swamp. So they break them down here. Hate encounter. A new encounter along the path of love has been added to Adoris, a rundown homestead shelters a nasty collection of people spreading their message of hate from the outskirts of the city of love. Okay, that's interesting. Brittany neighborhood connections. So they added some new connections to Brittany, it looks like. And here's one that actually affects me. Actually, we're not there yet. We'll talk about it when we get there. So, Brittany Castle. The castle interior is now heavily defended with the addition of many guards. The Adoris Palace, these now have custom thrones instead of using pledge reward thrones. That's cool. Canyon Siege. This hill siege was actually added in R38. Runes delayed. Okay. Bug fixes. Okay, here we go. Here's the player housing one. So they still haven't implemented the renting of rooms yet. That'll probably be coming up. But also the Shogun bundles will come online as we continue to expand our water placeable houses and our Shogun line of houses. We will also begin the work necessary to make player equipment placeable as decorations. Player equipment placeable as decorations. So that's cool. You have your fancy little sword and you're not running around with it and you want to put it on your desk or something as a decoration. That's what they're talking about there. Also, containers will begin to have limits on how many items can be placed, which they already currently do. Okay. Decorated lot, decoration, basement, moving, and or saving. Okay, so this is the magic movers thing. Players can now save a fully decorated lot or basement to their local bank and reload it later onto that same lot or onto a different lot in the same scene, as long as that lot is the same size. Players will start with the 5 slots and in future releases will be able to purchase more for gold crowns, and in a future release we will expand this feature to allow movement of a fully decorated lot basement between separate scenes for an as yet undetermined cost. I'm looking forward to that. I'll have to do a video on that because I have multiple houses I like to run with, but it's a pain in the butt to have to redecorate every single time. So that will be cool as hell. Town blessings. Owners of player towns now have the ability to place 11 different devotionals to have 8 virtues and 3 principles in their towns. So those are like buffs, I guess. Crafting or combat buffs. All town owners will receive these new devotionals as rewards, and the original items can continue to be used as purely decorative items. You will need to claim rewards at a bank to receive these rewards. Here is a list of the base level devotionals that are included with each pot and the associated blessing. So truth, it gives you an intelligence buff. Love, dexterity buff. Courage, strength buff. Humility is a magic resistance buff, and fishing bait recovery buff. Marky, you might like that one. Honesty, focus buff and alchemy buff. Justice, a fizzle reduction and cooking buff. Honor, a focus regeneration buff and architectural buff. Spirituality, adventuring level buff and fishing level buff. Okay, so I have a question about these. I don't have the answer. So the player-owned town owner puts them in their town. So the buffs are applied to that town. But what is the point of having a plus to your strength if you're not actually fighting anything in a player-owned town? Or does the fact if you reside out of the player-owned town, that buff carries with you as you go about your fighting? That's a good question right there. In which case, I'd be interested in my player-owned town governor putting up this, where is it? The fizzle buff here. The justice one, fizzle reduction and cooking buff. I don't know. That's a question I'll have to look into a little bit more. Spirituality, adventuring level buff, and fishing level buff. Compassion, dodge buff, and tailoring buff. Sacrifice, health regeneration buff, and carpentry buff. And then valor is a health buff and blacksmithing buff. So that should be interesting moving forward. Placeable handheld musical instruments. For our first foray into making handheld player items decorations, we picked handheld musical instruments because they are a small, nice subset of items to experiment with as we work our way through the system. This means players can now place lutes, harps, flutes, and tabor drums as floor decorations in subsequent releases. We will continue to expand this until eventually all handheld items will be placeable as decorations. So that's cool. Let's see. They added the Shogun Castle wall, which I'm going to show you at the end of this video. The governor of my city, Bay Lunaire, has one up around his place. It's really cool as hell. And in statues, craftables, add-ons, bunch of statues, tabletop stuff, bug fixes, renting room delayed, of course. And of course the Lot D raffles are R38, so they really decrease the amount of these they're raffling off. I got lucky back before they really started dropping the number, and I submitted, I forget how many tickets, and I won 2 village Lot Ds, which was really cool. That was my first foray into owning my own property. But I haven't bought into it since, because they've really reduced the amount that they're rewarding. Okay, here we go. So the new connections. Bay Lunaire, which is where I live, they adjusted their interconnection boat locations, and that means I think looks like they we have a connection now to Valhalla, which is our other player-owned town. So the Lunar Dragons have 3 player-owned towns. One is the Bay Lunaire, which is where our guild house is here, and the other one is Valhalla. And then we also have a player-owned town called Crossroads, and according to this, we now have a connection directly to Valhalla, which would be fantastic. Let's go take a look at that. Oh, we got a glitch going here. Come on. Always when this is our guild house off to the right here, and there's lots of decorations around it, and whenever I run by, these decorations always cause me to glitch out. Oh well. I have a old computer. What's this here? That's kind of cool. Oh, that's the Devotional of Truth. Oh, so he already put up one up. Let's see which one it is. Devotion of Truth. So the truth. Let's see. Truth will give us intelligence buff. Okay. I guess that's what we're rolling with here. That's pretty cool, though. Oh, and then another one over here. So, which one of them are we getting credit for, I wonder? Or are they just going up as I'll have to look into this a little bit more. That's a justice. And the justice one. Justice gives a fizzle reduction. Ah, that's the one I was just talking about. I don't know. We'll see. I'll look into that a little bit more. see if that actually impacts me when I'm out adventuring and stuff. Oh, look, our banker has gotten a new look. He was a woman, or she was a woman before. Now she's still a woman, but she has a pirate attire on. That's kind of cool. That's really cool. So here's our Novia connection, Brittany Wharf's connection, Brittany Fields connection, Brittany Central, Brittany Estates, and Brittany Alleys. And we're supposed to have a connection here to Valhalla. But Valhalla is not on the water, so what kind of connection is it? A balloon? That's a good question. I don't see any balloons here. I bet you the connection is, let's see up here. Your lot, Town Crier. Ah, I bet you that's the Central Docks. Right here. Central Bridge. Let's go over this way. The connection might be somewhere else. Oh, I think I see it actually, over by that bridge. That makes sense. The Valhalla is not on a river, so of course we wouldn't have a boat connection to them. We would have a wagon connection. Yep, there's our connection to our other player-owned town, Valhalla. So that's great. That's fantastic. So, back to the release notes. And then it looks like they have a bunch of other new connections created here. Other towns and stuff. Oh, here we go. Here's a combat change. The cover system will be introduced and will modify attacks and defense values when you or your target are behind cover. And then they cross this part out, so I guess that doesn't apply. It will also be refactoring how ammunition works. So basically, if you're behind if you're behind cover, the amount of damage you take will go down. Combat cover. Being behind cover now decreases the amount of damage taken in combat. Cover is considered any object that blocks or partially blocks direct line of sight between you and a target. And then they talk about the utility bar, the non-combat one being out there on the, which we already talked about. Moving while fighting animations. We rebuilt the animations rig to better support animations for combat while moving. This should make animations during combat look much better. And then they did a weapons trail polish and ignite weapons effect. This one, I noticed this one too. Ignite weapons effect. So here's my weapon. And I thought at first that it was simply because I had a double-handed sword up. But no, they actually made a change, which is how it came into be. So there's my ignite weapons, right? Look at that sword, a flaming sword there, right? And then watch this. Isn't that cool as hell? Let's get to, yeah, that's cool as hell. And we're going to swing that sword again. Woohoo! Look at that. Look at those effects. That is awesome. I like that. That's our flaming weapons one. Potion refractor. The potion weapon skill is now a passive skill. Additionally, there are now multiple potion types with different effects that can be crafted. I haven't dove into that just yet. A resurrection timer. When players die, a timer now appears on screen to show how long before automatic resurrection would be triggered. And the catapults and seizures are now attended by a team of 8 engineers and guards who will defend and operate the catapult. More artifacts, so they're adding more than 30 new artifacts have been added to the game, along with the first epic artifact. We won't want to spoil it for you by telling you what they are, however. So more stuff to find out there. Go out there, adventure and kill. An Obsidian Book of Unlearning Tooltip. These items now have a tooltip to explain how to use them and to unlearn skills, and therefore free up the experience spent on them. It wasn't hard to learn how to use those, so that's cool though. Icon for spawn in protection. A buff icon now appears on your character when they have the temporary immunity when they first appearing in the scene. That's probably that one right there. Air elementals are now immune to air magic, of course. And eating, if you take damage while eating, that will interrupt your consumption, so don't try to do that when you're fighting. Or do it, I don't know, pull arms, fix there. Pets generate threat on owner. Tamed summoned pet attacks now apply threat to the pet's owner. This makes it increasingly difficult for a pet to exclusively hold threat aggro on enemies permanently, and they will now refocus upon the pet's owner over the course of combat. That means you can't send your pet out to attack shit and just expect it to keep all the stuff away from you. That aggro will now be coming back to you now. So let's see. Belts, these are now their own type of gear and should show up as such in tooltips. Earth Embrace. City of Kobolds. In Release 39, we have begun working on what we are called our City Kobold. These are the kobolds that live in Shrek and other places like Kroll. They are much more advanced than anyone else in Novia, and the source of almost all of the technology that you see in the game. They are have more advanced armor, weaponry, blah blah blah. So it looks like they're getting their own look. So they'll look different than the other old school primitive kobolds that are out there. So, and then of course we have new animations out there. What's this? Wealthy Merchant's outfit. Wealthy merchants in Novia will be wearing this new outfit, and is also available for purchase in the add-on store as an outfit, and in the patterns packs. That's kind of cool. And then that's the new store that I've seen on the add-on store. You can get patterns for that. That's the other one you can get patterns for. Let's see. So new recipes added to the game. A bunch of new things added to the add-on store. Here we go. The following list includes a mix of eternal patterns and pattern packs. Items that are exclusive to bundles only receive eternal patterns. What that means is there's the katana sword. You can only get that in a bundle pack, which means to get that eternal pattern, you have to buy that bundle, salvage that sword, and then you get that eternal pattern. So that's what they mean by that. But these are all stuff you can find in the add-on store there. In game, these are obtained by salvaging these weapons that are looted from NPCs in the game. So Kobold Hammer, Kobold Chainsword. So if you get these items in game, you can salvage them and get a pattern from those as well. Lich Axe. Ah, katana is an in-game thing, huh? Cool. So that's kind of cool. Like I said, you can make your swords and stuff look much cooler now. New recipes. And so on and so on, and that's about it. So we skipped around a bit there, but that's Release 39. the patterns and the magic movers are the ones that appeal to me the most. And in fact, my next video is going to be getting my hands on one of those katanas. I'm going to buy it from the add-on store. I'm going to promptly salvage it and get that eternal pattern from it. And then I'm going to craft me a two-handed sword. And I'm going to attach the pattern to that. And yeah, that'll be really, really cool. And I also have plans to do that with a set of armor on there as well. But before I go, right over here is our governor of this fine player-owned town, Big Linaire. Tatiana owns this little keep lot out here. And right now you can just see that he has a Shogun house. But what you can't see, because my computer's slow and hasn't loaded it yet, is he has one of those keep the walls around it. So we're going to go out and take a quick gander at that. That's one of the new things in this release that you can get on the add-on store. And it's a long swim. There we go. And as soon as I get up here, it'll get close enough, it'll load. There we go. So there we go. That's that new Shogun keep walls that you can put around your place. Pretty cool. And let's go up, find a ladder. Really cool. So here we are. He hasn't decorated anything up here yet, and we have been in here before. That house is really cool, but this is now the walls to go around it, and you can find these on the add-on store. And I want to say you can find them in the Marquee Dragon game codes, which you can find that link to that in the description of this video. And right over there you can see my place right there. So that'll be it for today. I appreciate. Don't forget to subscribe. There should be a link right there to take you to the my YouTube account, and click to subscribe. And of course, like the thumbs up and comments. Any ways to improve, anything you liked. I very much appreciate the comments. And until next time.